currently proposed legislation in Montana do you believe would be the most helpful in ameliorating housing shortages, or if there's not that, what theoretical like proposed legislation do you think would be like the most helpful in kind of addressing that issue of just the supply issue?
Yeah, it's we provided a few suggestions in
Mm-hmm.
our report, and fundamentally, this is something that local governments have total
Mm-hmm.
power to solve here within their power today. This is something where it just takes a little bit, in my opinion, it just takes a little bit of political courage and willpower to go through their zoning codes and go and actually look at things like minimum lot sizes and setback requirements and parking requirements and things like that, and look at those regulations and find where they're too strict and they're impeding development, and either reform them or get them off the books. Helena actually has been kind of at the forefront of that sort of strategy. The city of Helena completely abolished minimum lot size requirements in 2019. And they did so with this was part of their strategy for addressing affordability, and that may be one factor in Helena's market being a whole lot cheaper than
Mm-hmm.
Billings' market. Certainly there's other
Yeah.
factors, but that definitely comes into play. You can
Mm-hmm.
build a duplex or a townhome in the entire all the residential areas or primary residential zones in Helena. You can only do that in less than 50% of Bozeman. So from a development perspective, it looks really hard to build affordable
Mm-hmm.
types of homes in Bozeman compared to Helena. So this is something that Bozeman's leaders should be looking to address,
Mm-hmm.
and they should be looking to, expand the areas where those multifamily, more affordable types of homes are allowed by rights,
Mm-hmm.
where they don't have to go through a public hearing process or a conditional use permit. And then they should also be looking at, reducing these minimum lot size requirements, maybe taking away some of these, kind of additional lot size requirements for multifamily structures that effectively penalize those types of developments. Or the other option is, why don't they just follow Helena's lead and just get rid of minimum lot area requirements, entirely? I mean, that's an option too, and it's obviously been working just fine for Helena where I'm at. So, um, those are options within the power of local governments. There's also things that state lawmakers can look at doing too. So there was a bill in 2021 during the legislative session brought by Representative Danny Tenenbaum from Missoula. He's a Democrat from Missoula, and his proposal was to essentially preempt a lot of these single-family zoning requirements in more established cities across the state. And so his bill would basically allow a property owner to build a duplex or a townhome in all the residential areas of a city that's larger. I think it was larger than 5,000 population, and then in cities that were larger than 50,000, it would allow up to a fourplex. And so it would preempt any kind of restrictions at the local level that would prohibit that type of development. And so that's certainly an option to consider because, local governments have talked about addressing these types of regulations for a long time. And certainly hopeful that, maybe things have gotten bad enough where we're actually going to start addressing that at the local level. Seems to be some movement in Bozeman on this. But, there's also a role for the state to play here. One of the other options or one of the other things that we like to mention is that these restrictions at the local level have a big impact, not just locally, but statewide too. Bozeman's a big driver of our
Mm-hmm.
state's economy. And if they don't allow for affordability and for new development, that ripples out into our economy. And so this is absolutely something that state legislators need to be looking at.
My full interview with Kendall Cotton involved about 20 minutes of us talking about a wide variety of housing issues. I edited down to focus just on legislation or local government issues that can be done to address housing. And I think I fundamentally agree with what he was talking about with Representative Tannenbaum's proposed legislation to allow landowners to build up to quadplexes on their land in larger cities, as well as the statements about reviewing stuff, including parking minimums and minimum lot sizes, as a way to allow more dense housing in Montana cities as a way to increase aggregate supply. Alternatives to that, I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that housing subsidization, housing voucher programs can also be part of that toolkit for easing the demand side costs, in addition to more deregulation to increase net supply of housing. I think just an all of the above strategy, which includes some government programs as well as more broadly allowing people to build, is the only feasible solution to increasing housing stock in Montana and as well as around the nation.